welcome. Joseph, Mr. Retirement.
Yes, and it's a wonderful thing. I highly recommend it to everybody.
That's right.
I should have been born retired. I took to it so well.
I know, but now you've goofed it up.
Yeah.
We can talk about that here in a minute. But Anna Rice,
Yes.
how long have you been on the Council on Aging?
150 years.
That's why she's an expert.
You are the Council on Aging.
A little over 40 years.
My,
Oh, wow.
For real?
For real.
For
okay,
real?
I thought she was still.
That's what you call experience, folks.
yes, sir, buddy. And if she knows
Sir,
anything about
now-
old age,
Well, we
got
need
it.
we need to speak to that. What keeps someone doing the same thing for 40 years,
Yeah.
Anna? Right there. I mean,
Passion for older adults.
okay, so that right there, that answers it. Because a lot of times people want to help and
Right.
want to do things, but they'll try it, and not for me.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Right?
That's all right. And that's how I got involved in some of this, of what we're doing today.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Yes. And let me segue right in here. But yes. But anyway, about 4.5 years ago, my wife and I, we were reading a newspaper article about how the Meals on Wheels program needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why don't we give that a shot? Why don't we give that a try? And so we went into that, wondering how it was going to be. You know, we'd never done anything like
Right.
that. And what we found out, it was an extremely well-organized
Thank
procedure.
You, Joe.
You
I mean, the things are laid out for you. I mean, somebody with my IQ, you know, the IQ of a canned drink,
Indeed.
can walk in there and do that. And that immediately made me happy.
Yes.
And it tickled Louise. I had something to do. You know, she was
Excellent.
happy. And so we began to deliver Meals on Wheels. And as we began to do that, me, somebody who loves to sit on the front porch and watch people and write about people.
So
Wave
then you
as you
could
go
walk
by.
on the front porch.
Yeah, then I could do
In
that.
a Troutman
on that
rocking
front
chair.
Yeah, I could do that.
Exactly.
But anyway, I became fascinated with looking at people. It's always the details. It's always the little things. And as we would go to these homes, you began to see how some of our senior citizens are living. And some of that is good, and some of that is not very good at all. And in fact, I had no idea we had senior citizens living in certain conditions that we've got here. And that's amazing, because Statesville, as I've written before, is the center of goodness. We are the bleeding tip of kindness in a way. And so, but at any rate,
Visualize it. See, Joe does that. He will paint with words.
He does.
yes.
Very good at it, too.
but we're a wonderful community. And here we were, these people being taken care of, obviously. But some of them, you get to talking to them, and there's some pretty sad stories out there. And the most amazing thing that would hit me, and I hope I can say this and get it out without choking up, but it's amazing, a senior citizen in a room that's dark all day long, and you go in and you hand them a meal, and they look at you, and when they say thank you, it is from the heart, buddy, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And so I got interested in this business of what are we doing about our senior citizens? What else is going on? And so Melissa and I we were talking about it. We got talking about the same thing and coming on and talking about how great that program is, the Meals on Wheels, and some experience, and thought, wait a minute. Why don't we expand this thing? Meals on Wheels is just one of the small things that this community is doing for its senior citizens. And then that's when Anna's name appeared. And so I made a phone call, and I said all the things my mother told me to say. Please, thank you, all those things.
Excellent.
Grovel never hurts.
That's right.
A lot of groveling. And so she agreed to come on and talk about this amazing job she's got and the wonderful things that are going on that you don't hear about.
Right.
And that is something about states. We need to toot that horn. There are things going on here amazing for our senior citizens. And I've got a lot of concerns about that. I really do. And so we have Anna here, and I'm going to go sit on the front porch and let her tell us all of the good things that's going on, because it's amazing when you get into this organization how many people are involved. And as a guy who came out of a bureaucracy, I mean, City of States would give me a break. I mean, I know what it takes in government to make something move and happen. And these people do a marvelous job, and an efficient job too. And as a past manager, they do it not only efficiency, but a very cost efficient and effort efficient. So I was just dazzled at how they handle it. So we thought we would
Wow,
bring
you used a
her
bunch of great
on.
words. They
Yes,
dazzled.
Dazzled, yeah.
Yes,
And,
I know.
and
Exactly.
so anyway, it's quite an honor and a privilege to meet the person who is a driving force behind what we are doing here for our citizens. So I'll shut up. And you
We make sure that he's doing your eulogy or something. I mean, it was
Right.
really
I
good.
mean,
I would
what
like
an
that.
introduction.
That's great.
I just feel really good now.
Yeah, how about
So,
that?
Thank you so much, Joe. Really. You know, one of the things you talked about is our seniors in the community, and I often say they're our hidden folks because no one knows they're
and
there.
hidden assets, I might add.
Absolutely, absolutely. And during the pandemic, we've seen so many folks feel even more isolated. And so it's been more critical that folks like you and your wife are out there delivering meals and making that human connection. Because for some of our folks, the food is secondary. It is the isolation. The food is just a little, oh, and here's some food too. So thank you for what you're doing with that.
You know what? I'm going to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
He can do that.
That's what we
I do.
He
That's right.
owns the station.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah,
know it
he
is.
can.
But I've talked with so many people and known so many people that have been part of the delivering the meals and things like
True.
that. And they say the drawback is exactly what you're talking about. The drawback is you're kind of on a schedule,
Right,
but you want to stay and talk
right.
for a half an hour or 45 minutes, and they would love that.
Right.
More than they would let the food get cold. They wouldn't care.
Absolutely, and that's the issue.
Just to talk. So it was like, but you can't stop and talk all that long, but you want to.
Right,
So that would be the only drawback I've ever heard. But all of it is just like Joe said. It's just like it's humbling and it's exciting
right.
in some degree because you never know how they're going to come to the door.
Well, this is
This
true.
is true.
This is true.
We've seen things no man should see.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's it, indeed.
This is sad but true.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Unfortunately, we have that time constraint because of health department rules that the meals have to be delivered within a certain time frame from when we receive the meal. So it's all about the safety thing. But
And if I might add, I was down in Louisiana. We've got people down in Louisiana, and of course, when we were down there, I would ask them, "Well, how's your Meals on Wheels?"
There you
program?"
go.
I can tell you
Competition.
about mine.
Yeah.
But what the other places do is they have, and this is kudos to you guys. A lot of places have frozen meals. They freeze them, and they take them to these elderly people and tell them, "Okay, just stick it in a microwave."
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, that was very shocking to me. A lot of them operate that way. They'll bring a number of meals out for an entire week, and they'll go in and they'll put them in the freezer, and I'll tell, okay, now you just pull it out and you can heat it up. Well, these people, I mean, I can't even work a microwave.
I was getting ready to say.
I call Louise, I'm crying and I'm throwing things at it, and she says, "Step aside, honey, and push the button." People cannot, all of them can't do that, and especially with their health, they can't do it. But here, they get fresh, hot meals, and as you say, they have to be delivered in a certain time.
Right.
But anyway, I wanted to point that out because I thought everywhere in the world they delivered
They're
meals
hot
on wheels. It
meals.
was hot meals. No, it is not. But in Statesville and Iredell County,
It's hot.
it's hot. I will say though, Joe, because of the pandemic, we did expand our program to far reaches of the county, and we are doing once a week frozen meals for some of the folks that are up in the Union Grove area, simply because we don't have the volunteer capacity to do
Jill's
that.
waiting for her delivery.
So,
They don't go that far.
that's right. So we are doing some of that as an answer to meet the need for the food. But you're right, it misses out on the critical human touch.
Was there such a thing as visits on wheels? As in, you've got the meal part, you got those volunteers, and they want to stay and talk.
but they never let you go. Some of them,
Well,
and
true.
you would stay
Follow
forever.
you right
Yeah.
on out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Just say,
But it sounds like you need some more volunteers in the far reaches of the county.
Absolutely, absolutely. But one of the things too is that, I don't know, Joe, do you do the same route every time?
Yes, mainly we do. We do Route 3.
Route
All those
3.
people in
Hello,
Route 3.
Route 3. So many times, I think you would agree, our volunteers do form that relationship with our folks because
you
they're
do.
used to seeing
And maybe
the
you
same
come back
one.
later.
And we've had that. We've
Yeah.
had that for
Hey,
sure.
my light bulb's out. Could you change?
Oh, the
fix
light,
that light
you're
bulb?
here.
the mail that I have brought in,
Absolutely.
light bulbs I have screwed in a lamp. I could write a book.
That's down there in the fine print on
Yes,
the
it is.
volunteer.
Yes.
The other component of that program is our congregate program, and we're still doing grab and go for those meals. We have not brought our folks back in.
Go back to
I was
congregate.
gonna say, let's go. Yeah,
I was
I'm still with Billy
where
there.
we have congregate, we bring folks into the nutrition site because
Oh.
after all, you know, if you can get out, it's better for you to be with your contemporaries. So
I got
that's
you.
the deal. So they would normally come in Monday through Friday. We pick up a lot of those folks with ICATs, and they're with their friends and get the same meal that you're taking out. We have not gone back to that program yet because of the ongoing pandemic, and our folks are some of the most vulnerable. We hope, don't we all hope, that after the first of the year we'll be able to bring folks back in. So we have those sites in Harmony, Statesville, Troutman, and Mooresville. So right
Okay.
now we're doing the grab and go. They get the meal, and if they are unable to get there because of transportation, the folks that we were picking up, we have contracted with ICATs to deliver those meals
Oh, good.
to the folks who would normally come to the site. So they're used to seeing their driver, and that maintains that connection with the folks. So
But you folks handle even more than Meals on Wheels.
We
You've got
do, we
many
do.
more things that you do.
we do. We of course do transportation with ICATs and getting people to doctor's appointments, to the grocery store, and yes, the beauty shop and the barber shop, and you know, all those things that you and I would take
don't
for
have to go.
granted if we can't get out.
Joe
you know.
goes to the beauty shop.
Oh,
You
okay.
can tell.
We aren't taking him yet. He's got to learn how to
No,
do his
Ashley's-
microwave.
Actually, all this is rented.
Oh, okay,
It's all
good.
rented.
Excellent.
So I know people have got to be wondering. It's like, okay, so I know someone, or thinking, how can I connect a family member with all these services? So,
Right.
so what's the best way for folks to be able to say, hey, connect these
Just
people?
give us a call at 704-873-5171.
Billy
Do that
wasn't.
again.
Yeah, Billy wasn't ready.
704.
873-5171.
5171. Billy, you got that? Council on Aging.
51 COA.
Right.
That's not a campground. That's KOA.
That's right. But it's still got meals involved
we're
and
a
wheels.
community.
Right. See?
That's
We
it.
are a
That's it.
community.
So you got council agent, but then in the same building you have the senior
Right, the
center.
Council on Aging is the umbrella agency, and let me talk about senior centers in a minute, okay?
Okay,
I
all right.
wanted to go also to our in-home program. We really do the whole continuum of care from people who are really frail to the more active folks at the senior center, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But our in-home program provides light housekeeping for some of the folks that get meals, other folks who don't get meals but still have physically have problems completing basic tasks like changing their linens or getting their laundry done or mopping or vacuuming. And so we provide that service. It's called our chore service, and that's throughout the county.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
Because that can be tough as you get older
Right.
too, especially wrestling a vacuum.
Yes, we hear that a lot about the back.
Changing
and-
sheets is not
Oh
easy.
my
That's a
gosh,
workout.
no, that's
Exactly,
yeah, that's
exactly. And the other component of that
You've
is
never changed your sheets, I don't think.
We did in the Nixon administration.
Okay.
we also do respite. So we have in-home aides go in and provide relief time for unpaid caregivers. No, I'm sorry, you're not eligible.
Thank you. Well, I'm getting that way.
It could be, we have now parents, we've got, 90-year-old, who their 65-year-old daughter is taken care of. We've got, husband and wives. One may have had a debilitating stroke. They may have, a dementia and Alzheimer's and can't be left alone. And someone's called that the 36-hour day, and if you've ever been involved in the caregiving situation, you know it's tough. It's tough. And so we've learned over the years that if caregivers can get a regular break and they can just catch a breath, that they can hang in there much longer. So we're also doing the respite program as part of our in-home program as well.
Well, go back and then, so if, say my mom is, she's passed now, but anyway, say my
Bless her.
mom is that way, she can cook for herself and things like that, but she's not able to do all that stuff. So how do I do chore? How does that work?
Call that number
Okay.
and ask for help with housekeeping.
And so who do we pay? How much is it?
Okay, yeah, let me talk about that.
Please do.
We are a private nonprofit, and shout out to Iredell County, because the Council on Aging was organized in 1972, I believe, and funded primarily under the Older Americans Act, which means your federal dollars come back to the community. But a key part of this, and thanks to Melissa and her group, is that we have to match those federal dollars 90 to 10. So for every dollar the county gives, we get $9 back in our community. And we're able to do that because of the support of Iredell County. City of Statesville still contributes, Town of Mooresville, and the United Way. So we put together all those pieces of local matching money. In fact, we go over that to be able to meet the need. But our older adult population is exploding in Iredell County, and we're going to be, everybody kept talking about the silver tsunami. Well, folks, it came a couple of years ago.
It's still coming.
It's still coming, and we're not outrunning it. So, yes.
So does it cost us anything? Are you saying?
This program is not based on income. You have to meet the age criterion. That is, you have to be 60 and age does have its advantages. You have to be 60 or older to receive our services. And it is not income based, but when there's a finite amount of service, obviously the person with the lower income is going to get the higher priority.
Sure.
But no, there is no cost for services. We are required to give folks, you're going to love this term, an opportunity to help share in the cost. And as you might imagine, those who have the least, probably some of the folks Joe's talking about, always are more generous. But such
It is
as
amazing.
you,
It is.
Let me
human
ask, as an
nature.
old bureaucrat, how did 60 years of age, how is that number determined? I mean, why not 59 and a half? Why not 66?
That was established by the Older Americans Act.
It's established by that. That's a
Federal.
act.
That's a federal.
Well, that answers a lot.
I'm
of
not
questions.
complaining. I qualify. I'm more than qualified.
We get calls from
right
folks.
Me and Moses behind the pyramids. I can tell you stories.
Oh, I know.
No wonder I can't read that very well.
That's right.
That etching.
We get people who call and get very frustrated because they are disabled, but it's beyond it is a federal, disability is not a determination, it's that age criteria.
Gosh, I wish it, because we'll talk sometimes, about, I don't know, I'll just use a name like Miss Lizzie or something. She lives by herself and she's in her 80s.
Right.
And nobody's there. She didn't have family and all that. And you were thinking like, well, gosh, if you call such and such an agency, it's going to cost, $1,000 a month.
Right.
But if they got Medicaid, and you start thinking about all that. But now we could call Council on Aging.
Absolutely.
And maybe work something out where it's reasonable.
I think, too, that a lot of the people we serve fall through the cracks. I mean, DSS does a super job, but there are a lot of criteria that have to be met to be eligible.
And a lot of people, as you pointed out, this
Absolutely.
population is growing. That segment's growing.
And these could be the people that are, $50 over the income limit for DSS. And so oftentimes these are the folks that are getting by because they've been frugal their whole life,
Right.
But
But we don't want to hear of anybody, and I don't know that you've run across them. I mean, you hear these horror stories, usually in urban areas, the big cities and stuff, where, grandma was eating cat food and all that stuff like that. We don't have that kind of problem, do we? Oh, really?
Well, I think we have some people who are in pretty dire circumstances, quite honestly.
It may not know how to reach out.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of it, I
That-
think, because Lord knows the services and the willingness and the people to do that are here.
No one wants their neighbor to be hungry.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that's
Absolutely.
where a lot of times you just don't know who do I reach out to, because sometimes you feel my life is already overwhelming. How can I possibly take on
Do
something
one more
else?
thing.
Right, one more thing. So we have a tendency to just kind of shift. Maybe I'll deal with that later. But with the Council on Aging, that is their role. And, that is what they do. Their passion, again, what you were
Right.
talking about.
Right.
Making those connections and making sure people get fed.
Do you ever come across people that they've worked so hard their whole lives, they've never needed help, and to now come to a point in life where you now need help?
Absolutely. And we often get this remark, there might be somebody that needs that more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
we
so
do
true.
get that.
And so, yeah, how do you handle that? Like, can you counsel through that?
Well, oftentimes we try to say, hey, you've paid taxes your whole life, and this is your tax dollar coming back, and who deserves it more than you?
Right.
But someone who's listening to this right now and had no idea that we had this many marvelous services and things available, they're sitting there and going, whoa, my mother or myself. Okay, what do they do? From this point on, what do you do? They think they need some of these services, as you've mentioned. What to do, how to do it.
They would call our office. The person answering the phone, Dawn, would ask them a few questions, not very intrusive, but what kind of help are you looking for? I can't get Mom to the doctor because she's in a wheelchair and I can't get her in the car, in which case Dawn would handle that. Or it's, Mom's been recently diagnosed as diabetic. She wasn't cooking before anyway, and now she's really struggling to, maintain her blood sugar or whatever. Okay, that person would talk to our nutrition program coordinator.
So your meals can accommodate special diets?
No, but let me say this. Our meals are prepared with half of the salt that's normally called for in a recipe.
Okay.
And we have oftentimes, we would contact the physician and say give them a sample of our menu, and we've never had a physician say no. And I
Okay.
think a lot of that, Melissa, is they would rather them eat a balanced meal than not anything or eat a little Debbie's.
Right.
Yeah.
And also something else you provide in Meals on Wheels. I thought about it. We call it Box Day. Those of us that deliver Box Day, it's when Louise calls me her beast of burden when we go there. But they're boxes, yes. Yes. But they're boxes that they prepare that have canned foods in them for these
Exactly.
folks. And I think that happens about once a month or whatever.
Correct.
In case we have an ice storm, we have some major catastrophic event, and we can't get
Exactly.
to it. Well, I'm rambling. You
No,
can
that's
tell me,
exactly
but
what
it's an
emergency
sort of
meal.
a thing that they can have in their house. At least they'll
Right.
have something there.
Right, absolutely, and we've been doing
And those
that.
are heavy boxes.
They
I'm
are.
sure they
Just
are.
saying.
Bless your heart. And
Not too
is Council Aging the one, like, there are sites around the county where they bring food and you can come and buy food. I mean, or get food. It's canned food. I don't know. Maybe it's Christian Ministries or
Yeah, that's
Yoko's.
not us.
Maybe that's it.
These boxes go out to our clients.
Okay, the
already.
ones that are there. Okay.
Right.
Yes, and you have
That
to
are
pick them up
so
and you have to
heavy.
put them in the car and then you have to pick them up.
And you brought up a good point there, Joe, with the weight that's involved with grocerying and the transportation piece. Is there a way for Council on Aging to help those who you help provide transportation? Is that take someone to the grocery store? Because that's oftentimes a challenge.
We do take people to the grocery store.
Because that's huge. Just getting someone that no longer feels comfortable driving,
Right.
but you still need your basics.
Exactly.
And that stuff is heavy.
It
It
is.
is
When you think
heavy.
about hauling the groceries in the house.
And that was my point about the boxes. What I was trying to get across in that stumbling way that I do at times is that is a substance there. I mean, there's a lot of variety
Absolutely.
there's a lot of food in there.
There
you.
is.
Cool.
I wanted to share a story with you about our family caregiver support program where we were providing respite services for husband and wife, and the husband tends to be a wanderer. And through this program, we were able to purchase a watch with a GPS.
Oh.
and he got out of the home a couple of months ago. And because of that, we were able to locate him.
Oh,
And
wow.
when they found him, he had gotten tangled up in briars and was upside down.
Oh,
and,
my
yeah,
goodness.
so I mean, there's
That saved his life.
It
It
did.
did.
Yeah.
We like to think it saved his
It
life.
did.
So, there's some flexibility with our family caregiver program where we can help folks get some of these items that may make staying at home a little safer for both the person who has the memory issues and the caregiver as well.
How many people do y'all serve? Do you know?
Probably with all of our programs, we probably touch around, now this is just the programs I've talked about. We'll talk about senior centers in a minute. Probably around 1,200 people a year, unduplicated as we call it
Yes, right.
in the word. But let's talk about the senior centers. Do we have
Okay.
time?
Yep.
You
Have we just a few minutes
go
there?
right
Yeah.
for
Okay,
it.
senior centers. We've just finished. We've just finished open enrollment. That's the buzzword of late
Oh,
for
yes.
Medicare recipients, and we help counsel. I don't know, a little over 100 people, and help them choose their Medicare supplemental policies. And met one-on-one with those folks. That's just one of the things that we did. We also provided vaccination for COVID at both our Mooresville Senior Center and our Statesville facility when the lines were getting backed up so much, and we had our older adults going out at 4:30 to be at Mazeppa Park
Yeah.
or wherever.
Right.
We said there's got to be a better way for our older adults, so we were able to do that, and I felt really good about that. And as I left, they were getting ready for chair exercise, and they'll be line dancing this afternoon and all kinds of fun things. And people always say, well, that's just where the old people go to do, I don't know,
Yeah.
Bingo.
ceramics.
Right,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, they've got
I love
you
bingo.
got
I do too.
pool, you got pool tables
We
up there for the
do, we
manly
do.
guys.
So,
There's some
my
manly women.
Yeah.
my point is that we're all better off when we keep our older adults active and engaged.
Mhm.
And if you're not there, we're going to talk about you and check in on you. So that's a good thing.
We're going to talk about Billy anyway.
What's the other thing? Not taekwondo. What's the other
Tai
thing?
Chi.
Tai Chi.
And that's really good because, falls are a biggie for older adults. So
Yeah.
balance, Billy.
Balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is,
Don't have
one
that.
senior called it the light on the hill. And I love that. So
Good expression.
I
That's
do
description.
feel like that we keep a lot of people active and engaged. And
And the senior center and the COA is on East Front Street
correct.
on the hill, like I said.
Exactly.
And the Mooresville Senior Center is in the Charles Mack,
At the lower level of the Charles Mack Center.
so you don't have to climb stairs.
You can just come
It's
right
very
off of
important.
Church Street in Mooresville.
That's right. So any of those locations. And that magic phone number again is?
1-800,
No.
no.
1-800-CALL-ANNA.
704-873-5171.
Yeah. And ask about all the different services they get, because we just found out that
We did.
there's more.
Learn more
Yeah.
every time I talk with Anna.
Great.
We've lived here longer than Anna's lived here. Didn't even know about
And
that.
all that, and you do a phenomenal job. Thank you
Joe.
very much.
Thank you for your dedication to learning that she's been a part of this for 40 years.
Yeah.
Anna Rice, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.
Oh, yes.
And Joe Hudson, glad you're here today. So,
Well, we got a finger there. Yes.
golf clap.
Golf clap. Yes.
That's
Golf
it.
clap.
Thank you, Joe.
You're so welcome.
As always. And thank you, Melissa.
Oh,
Yes.
my pleasure.